Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Training Industry Learning Tech Showcase Content Creation Authoring Tools, sponsored by Camtasia, Echo 360, and ELB Learning. So I'm Liz Spate, the Events Marketing Specialist here at Training Industry, and I'm thrilled to have you with us here today. Before we get started, though, I would like to quickly go over a few housekeeping items to help you interact with our speakers and get the most out of today's event. So let's open up those chat windows and let us know where you're joining us from today. Ooh, a 98 day in Dallas. That sounds that sounds delightful. Well, it is cloudy here in Raleigh, North Carolina, and it's just a pleasure to have you with us. So while you're opening up those chat windows and letting us know, feel free to use this chat window for any comments as well as questions. We will be having some dedicated time at the end of today's session for Q&A, but please do not hesitate to plug those questions throughout. And once the session ends, a brief survey will appear in your browser. Please take a moment to share your feedback on the session and today's speakers. And all of our sessions are being recorded and archived on trainingindustry.com, and you will receive a follow-up email from us. They'll include a link to the on-demand program for you to share with your team. Now, if this is your first Training Industry event, we would love to welcome you. We exist to make connections among learning and development professionals, and we offer tons of resources to support your role in L&D, like live events like today's showcase, as well as through articles on our website, our magazine, conferences, research reports, and our podcast. We would also love to hear about what you've learned from today's session on social media, so please follow us on the favorite platform so we can continue the conversation. Without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce you to our first speaker today. We have Joshua Bleggi, Learning Solutions Engineer at ELB. And with that, Joshua, take it away.
Perfect. Thanks, Liz. Appreciate it. And welcome everybody. I'm glad to have you all here. It's bright and early here in Utah. It's around 9 a.m. So I know many of you are probably on the East Coast. It's a little bit later for you, but thank you for being here on your Monday. Hopefully it's starting out well for you. So today I'm going to talk to you about kind of a workflow in on one of our authoring tools, MicroBuilder. So MicroBuilder was designed as part of our ELB Learning Creation Studio to be an AI-driven rapid authoring tool. So it's really intended to be AI first to help you create content and generate content from just simple prompts or existing documentation, and including your existing SCORM files now as well, to create some little microlearning modules. Let me actually pull that up so that way you can kind of see what I'm talking about as I'm doing so. Again, this was really designed initially to help create little like microlearning modules. You're talking about something about less than 10 minutes in length here. That's kind of in this kind of long scrolling single page format. Although this particular feature is actually changing here tomorrow, I just can't really show you it today, unfortunately. But you'll be able to create a more dynamic piece of content. So if you want to learn more about that, feel free to connect with me later. But the idea here being, again, that this is AI first. So everything that we're seeing here on the screen, particularly in this module, because I'm not really an expert on like cats or circus performance, let alone the pairing of them together, was generated with AI. So it's just simply typed a little prompt and you got most of the text content that you see here. And then I generated this video directly here within MicroBuilder as part of one of our AI blocks here. As you can see, kind of here's the selection of different blocks to author with. This was one of those avatars right there. And so I'm sure many of you have seen these before where you just, select the character, select a background, type in your text, and then it generates the video for you. So that's how that was created. Similar thing with the audio clips that you'll see throughout. These were all text to speech narration, again, that are part of the module. So the idea here being that the AI nature of these products is supposed to help you kind of get your content created quicker, get you something built in a few minutes, or maybe like a half hour versus, taking days or whatever it might be to track down a SME, create content, those types of things, as part of this. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't need to have some expertise and, check the facts here, because AI can still very much make mistakes. But that part of your workflow, though, gets a lot faster because you have this AI kind of assisting you with that. Because even here in MicroBuilder, like all these questions were generated with AI, including the feedback that's presented here. So like it really gives you that ability to use AI to get you a good jump start on things and then just make modifications from there. But like I mentioned a moment ago, AI can only take you so far. There's other components to the training development life cycle as you're developing this content that may need a little bit of assistance. And so that's more what we're going to kind of focus on today is How can we collaborate with others? How can we, take our translation process and automate that a bit as well? So working with humans, but also working with AI to accomplish some very specific tasks within the development life cycle that we all have. Um, so like I mentioned here, this was all generated with AI. And if I kind of show you how that starts from the beginning here, um, I can kind of just point out a couple of things here. So one of the really good things that AI allows us to do when we start to create content is we can use existing knowledge. So, like I mentioned previously, I'm not an expert on cats or circus performance. So let's see kind of, you can put that stuff in here. But when you're thinking about your own training for your own company, you just have existing documentation of some sort that you can throw in here to add as a source material for this, or even in creating that with an existing SCORM file and just kind of extracting that content and using that to get started from. So if say I want to potentially do that here, I can come in here and say, okay, let me go ahead and pull in this old SCORM file that I have here that I built in our other authoring tool, Lectora, and pulling that in here. And we'll just give that a second. So again, like this lets you use existing, repurpose existing content, which can really again speed up the workflow along with the prompting side of the platform, which as I showed you, you can create a pretty decent module there pretty quickly. But one thing that you'll notice here as well is it does ask you to select a base or a base language here as well. It'll try to auto detect that, which is what you saw there as well. So like it knows that, okay, this course was built in English, so it's going to go ahead and auto detect that. And that'll become important when we get into the translation stuff here in a moment. So if I hit, okay, create from SCORM file here, it's going to extract that existing content that we have and put that into a module. So not just, again, starting from a prompt, but you can repurpose your existing content as part of this as well to really get a jump start on things. And then you can use the AI to help refine and modify that going forward. Um, and so we'll give that a second to do its thing here. Um, And so we got a little bit of, the content here. So I don't actually have the original SCORM file ready to show you, but this is extracting the different sections that are there and building those out for us here. Uh, and sometimes it will do something like if it detects a quiz, it'll just let you know, hey, there's some quizzes and things that you want to throw in there. So I'm actually going to go ahead and delete this here just because it's not really necessary. But you do get some different you can kind of see the different content pieces here, and I can go back and modify this as I see fit, again, like adding questions or something like that here. So like if I come here and I can say, okay, add a question to it, and so that can really, like, get that process flowing there. But what if I wanted to like get somebody else's eyes on this, so that way they can review it or help me edit those types of things? Well, within MicroBuilder, we do have this ability to collaborate. So if I come up here and say add collaborators, I can see that, okay, I'm already here as the owner of the module, but say I want to add in let me remember a character, one of my kind of demo, no, this one was actually the guy that I want to use is actually training Terry. Um, so go ahead and select him there. And you can see that I've added now this training Terry as an editor here. Now you do also have the option to just add people as a viewer. And so you can say, okay, can view. And that means that they'll only be able to see comments and things, and we'll show that here in just a moment. But um, these people here, as you can kind of see this pulled up from an existing list, these people have existing licenses to MicroBuilder, so they're able to come in here and help edit. And so that's where I'll kind of keep Terry for now. Let's say I want to just, add my personal email um, as a reviewer here. So I don't have an existing MicroBuilder license, so I can just add as reviewer. So even people in your organization that do not have a MicroBuilder license associated with them can even come in here and review that. So people like your SMEs, your management, HR, anybody that needs to maybe go in and review that has that ability to do so there. I'll go ahead and click save there, and we'll go ahead and share that with those folks there that will need access to that. And so now, as the original author of this, I can come in here and say, oh, didn't need to add another block, but come in here and I have this commenting function here. So I can come in here and say, at, training Terry, What do you think of this? And I'll go ahead and send that comment over to Terry. They'll get some notifications on the back end, but you can see that also shows up here within the tool with a little blue speech bubble and a little comment thing there. And then I can go on and move on to edit the rest of the module. Now, for Terry to come in here, let me go ahead and actually open up another browser window. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of move this guy over to one side here and open up Terry's. So this is going to get a little trippy here in a second because you're going to see kind of two cursors going on back and forth. So I'm going to go ahead and open the same module here. And what you'll see down at the bottom is you can kind of see both of us are showing here. So kind of similar to like a Google Doc, right? Where you can see who's editing that with you. You can come down here and see both of those people in there. So I can see myself as well as training Terry in there as well. And as you can kind of see over here on the side that is Terry's, I can see that Joshua myself has this particular block locked, so that way I can't go in there, make changes, and override the work that Joshua is doing there as Terry. But then as Joshua over here, I can see the cursor for Terry, and Terry can see my cursor as well. So again, kind of that Google Docs type situation where you can see where people are at. So this allows you to work on these courses together as a team, and also go in there and review comments. So if I'm coming in here as Terry, I can come in here and look at the comments and see, okay, Joshua said, hey, what do you think of this? I can come in here and reply. Looks, I can say, Joshua, spell my own name right. Looks great to me. And then send that along. You can see that that ticked that little speech bubble up. So now as Joshua, I can come in here and say, okay, cool. Terry responded. I can come in here and say, okay, great. And I can either respond back to him or I can just say I want to complete that comment. It's going to clear out those comments for me there. So that gives you that really good, nice way to review that with other people directly in Tool. So that way you're not trying to manage things with like a spreadsheet or something like that. Try to manage who has access to what. So I'm going to go ahead and close out Terry's browser there because it's honestly even confusing me a little bit in my own demo there, having both browsers up. Uh, but I think you get that idea of collaborating with people, and hopefully you're collaborating with more than just yourself as a separate person. Um, but beyond that, like I mentioned, one of the other workflows that MicroBuilder really helps you with is your translation. So as you saw when we created that module, it asks us to select a base language. Now, in that case, it auto-detected that as English, but you notice that that dropdown, I could have selected a different language. So I could have had that created in Spanish or Japanese or whatever language I might actually speak. I'm predominantly, an English speaker, so that's where most of my courses get created. But as you can see in this particular module, there's this little globe icon up here, and on this left-hand side or right-hand side here, you do see some other languages that this is translated into. And so if I click edit here, I can see that. So my base language here is English, but here's my selection of all the other languages that I can pick. And so I have French and Spanish already here for us. So we'll go ahead and just click save there because it should already be translated. And I'm going to go ahead and just switch this into French now. And um, some of that did not translate. I don't know what's going on there. Let's go to a fresh module because this module's a little bit older, so some things might not work as well. So let me go ahead and just kind of throw that um, into here real fast. So we'll just do the same languages here, French and Mexican Spanish. We'll go ahead and hit save, and we'll go ahead and translate that now. So this is going to translate using AI. And one thing, like we see a lot of AI translations coming up these days. You can even use like ChatGPT to translate things if you wanted to. But the reality being is that this is only going to be, correct as far as the AI can kind of do that. So if there's particular like jargon or things like that that need to be translated into other languages, um, it's you're going to have to come in here and probably edit that yourselves. And so rather than keeping this as static here as a translation, I can actually come in here and make edits to any of these translations. So again, if I have a French speaker that goes in and is one of my co-authors, and they can kind of go in here and make those changes because they understand the language a little bit better. They can correct any maybe grammar errors or jargon errors that might need to happen there uh, as part of that. And so you do have that ability to make edits there. And then whatever you edit here then overrides the original AI translation. So that way, if you do like go in there and translate again because a new module was added, it or new like paragraph was added or something like that, it wouldn't you would have to go in there and kind of manually translate that at that point because the AI translation would no longer take effect because it's going to try to not override any changes that you've already made to it. So it's best to kind of keep this translation editing towards the end of your content cycle as you're developing. And obviously, you can do this for multiple languages all in the same file, which I think is very helpful to say, okay, I have, I have to, I know many companies I work with, they have to do like 5 or 6 languages, maybe some up to 10 or 15. And they're able to kind of put that all in one module versus creating a separate copy of that module for every language. You can still go that route if you want, but this makes it a little more convenient to put everything in one language in one file there. And speaking of that, kind of putting it into one file, um, MicroBuilder does give you a couple of ways to publish your content that I think are very helpful for getting this out to a very broad audience, depending on where they're no matter where they're at, whether they're using an LMS or they're using some more non-traditional way of distributing that content. And so MicroBuilder allows you to download the file as a SCORM or XAPI package. Now you notice that there's a couple of distinctions here between hosted and bundled here. So when we say hosted, those modules are still hosted here within MicroBuilder, but they're basically getting a SCORM wrapper that can be accessed on your LMS. So that way you can then still like your learners can still access it, but it gets the live content here from MicroBuilder. So that way, if you do make any modifications to it, like say you add an additional language or say you add an additional section to the course or whatever it might be, they're going to see those live updates and you don't have to republish the modules. So it's very helpful in that manner. However, we do know that there are some like IT restrictions around stuff like that, particularly like calling out to a third-party system or something of that nature from the LMS. And so we do offer this bundled option, which does let you download basically a traditional SCORM package as you're used to. There's also the option to save as a PDF, which will generate a kind of robust looking PDF for you. But then the other thing that we see a lot being used is our link sharing. And so you do have the ability to share a public or a private link. So the difference here being that the private link will require a password versus the public link, which will simply just be able to be accessed by anyone out there that can get access to the link. But where that's really good is we find a lot of people that are actually like texting or slacking their content to their team, particularly in like the sales field, where they're generally on the go, but they will check their phone and things like that. Um, we do see that happening quite frequently, so that link sharing kind of helps with that. So it allows you to put that into anywhere where you could put a link to share with somebody. Um, the downside to that one in particular is like you don't get really any tracking from it because we don't currently have any analytics here in MicroBuilder. And so you're not necessarily going to be able to track people's performance. But it does give you that ability to put that content out there a lot easier. So kind of looking at that, like you kind of saw, like it's pretty easy to create this content using AI, but then there's more to it, and I think that's what we kind of need to think about as we're thinking about how AI affects the L&D space. Is that it can get us to a certain point, but then we need to be able to override and take our own charge of this content. So whether that's generating or translating it, we need to be able to edit either the initial content or the translated content. And we need to do that together as a team. So we need to be able to work together so that collaboration becomes even more important. Because again, just in case the AI made some mistakes, we don't always catch things. Like I know, like when I'm working with my team to develop content over the years, we generally put our content through several review cycles, even to this point where AI is creating a little bit more of it. And what we always noticed is that no matter how many times someone has looked at this particular module, someone is always going to find some other little error that we missed. So whether that's a typo, whether that's a incorrect fact maybe or something of that nature, someone's always going to pick that up. So we can't just leave that whole reliance on like knowledge and information to the AI or to a single person. We need to kind of work together. And so that's where this kind of all kind of ties together for us in a roundabout way here. And it also just kind of, the content that's created here, MicroBuilder does come out, pretty modern. Like I said, we do have another release coming. Actually, it's supposed to come out tomorrow. So it's like, darn it, missed by one day. But it's going to allow you to create a multi-page module as well now. And so I wish I was able to show you that, but again, it's not released yet. Um, and that's going to even give you more flexibility within the tool to create, really robust content. Uh, so with that, I'll go ahead and open it up, Liz, for any questions that may have popped up for us.
Sounds good. I was about to say, everyone, I think, has been so involved in the actual demo. There haven't been many questions, so please do not hesitate to keep plugging your questions throughout. But I think the biggest one that we're seeing is how to get started. What would you recommend be that first step, or if anything to take away, even if it's not necessary ELB, like what is a good first step for people who are kind of experiencing some of these challenges?
I think the best first step is kind of analyze where you're at as an organization, what your needs look like, what content do you have already existing, because most organizations I talk to, they have some sort of backlog of content that they can use. Um, and they can use to get started. And also just assessing your needs. So like your needs as a developer, your needs as a company for your language is like having all that in context. Um, again, not just in context of MicroBuilder, but just overall is really going to help you select the right tool for the job. Because as you'll see kind of today with the three of us that are presenting, as well as if you go out and Google search or go through an LLM, because we know you're all doing that to find your tools these days. Um, you really want to have those requirements built out so that way you know what you need in this tool. Because as you start getting into MicroBuilder, if you don't know what you're trying to create, you're not going to be able to really, you're not really going to be able to create that effectively. Because even the AI, again, if you don't give it a good prompt, you don't upload good source documentation, you don't throw in a SCORM package that, you need to convert those types of things. Um, if you don't have any of that ready to go, then there's really no reason to get into the tool until you have that planned out. And I think that's where a lot of people get a little hung up is we try to execute before we have that plan. And so I think that's really the important first place to start.
Completely. And Dave, no worries. Any good place to ask a question is any good place. So Dave had asked, wasn't sure if this was the best place, but what software do you recommend to turn a script into a video?
A script into a video. Depends on what type you're trying to create. So with MicroBuilder, obviously we do have the talking head type video that you'll see in here. And we do partner with Colossian for that. I know there's other ones out there as well, like HeyGen and Synthesia and others like that that can create those talking heads. I have seen like I think Beyond allows you to create a more like animated type video with it. So it really just depends on what style you're looking for. I think there's a wide variety of options out there, and that's what's really kind of great. Because even like going to like Canva or like even directly to Gemini and Nano Banana, I think is their model. Maybe that's the image model. Um, but their video model is pretty good. Although I will caution, like any of these things, you're going to find limitations with them. So just be kind of mindful of that. They are getting better, but you just want to be kind of mindful of those limitations as they pop up.
Completely. Well, we've been keeping the audience, but no other kind of questions came in. So is there any additional parts of your demo that you haven't dived into that we have about 8 minutes to spare? Or is there anything else you would like to leave with the audience today before
Um,
we see your next break?
Just one thing I will point out too, because again, AI tools are becoming more and more popular. So ELB Learning, we do offer like a wide variety of different products and services. So we are kind of unique in that fashion where we have that connection of technology and our different service offerings. But beyond just MicroBuilder as an AI tool, we do have other products that utilize AI in different ways. So like in our rehearsal product, we've added a conversation simulation in there as well. And then our AI toolkit here is just a little collection of different applications, and this comes with any sort of purchase you get from us, we can include this now. But you'll notice here a lot of these things are kind of similar to what you see in MicroBuilder, but just externally. So any of the text rewriting information here, the text-to-speech tool, the avatar generator. And so like these all come included with the subscription. So that way, if you need to use these externally in a different authoring tool or something like that, they can still be there to assist you. So just kind of note that um, we do like try to provide you some flexibility when you're looking at, the content authoring tools and things that we have for you. Um, so just kind of wanted to point that out. Liz, if you're talking, you're on mute. I see your mouth moving, but
Classic Monday, classic Monday. But that is all the questions we have. So I did steal the screen. So with that, Joshua, is there anything else you'd like to leave with the audience today before we take
well, I
our first break?
just really appreciate everybody, coming again. I know it's bright and early on a Monday morning, and really appreciate everyone's participation as well.
Perfect. Well, if you have any more additional questions for the ELB team or Joshua, please reach out as well as scan this QR code. If you don't have time to scan it, not a worry. We will be sending it out in a follow-up email in the day. But thank you so much, Joshua, for walking us through and kicking off the event, starting
Yeah,
off strong.
thanks. Appreciate it, everybody. Have a great one.
Thank you so much. So for everyone else, yes, we will be taking a little bit longer of a break, 15, 20 minutes roughly. So definitely get some breakfast, a snack. Up next, we have Shane and Kelsey for their session sponsored by Camtasia, a practical AI workflow for turning messy live recordings into polished resources. So I hope you all stick around for our next session, which will begin shortly. I will see you all there.